With the release of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 just around the corner, I thought it would be a fun idea to make a tier list to predict how good all the characters are going to be. At this point, all the character spotlights are out except for one, so we have a pretty good idea on how all the characters are going to play. For this list, I'm going to be judging the characters based on how well I think they will perform in a competitive environment. If any of you guys want to make your own list, I'll have a link to the one I used in the description below. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start things off with the current face of the Nickelodeon franchise, SpongeBob. SpongeBob is your textbook jack-of-all-trades character. He's a very beginner-friendly character, and he has a lot of tools to help him out in most, if not all, situations. Some of his strengths include a strong combo game and solid approach options like his neutral special where he blows a bubble, and his side special which has a bit of armor on it. That being said, he does have some considerable weaknesses too, such as his stubby range and below average speed. From everything we've seen, SpongeBob looks to be a pretty well-balanced character that is more than capable of thriving in a competitive sense. So I think it's a safe bet to put him as a mid-tier. Now let's go over the first newcomer to the game, Squidward. Squidward has quick aerials with good range, a decent recovery, an up tilt with invincibility frames, or commonly known as iframes, and a chargeable projectile. On top of that, he has a few interesting mechanics. He can do a double jump cancel, which was unintentional from the devs, but they decided to keep it in anyway. Additionally, he has an RNG side special where he pulls out one of 3 different paintings that do different amounts of damage and knockback. If that wasn't enough, he also has a rage mechanic where he can temporarily give himself a speed and damage buff. With all of these things, Squidward has a lot of potential to be a really good character. I'm going to put him in high tier above SpongeBob because of his superior range and different mechanics can give him a slight edge in certain matchups. As the Spotlight video puts it, Patrick is your traditional grappler. His throws and strong attacks hit like a truck, but he has trouble when he can't get up close to his opponents. In this game, Patrick was actually given some tools to help him deal with being outranged or camped out. He can throw a table to keep foes out of the air, and he has a counter that gives him a boost if it's used on a projectile. His recovery is still pretty bad, so that's kind of a setback. Patrick is the kind of character that can be intimidating to fight, but if you know how to play around his tools, he'll probably struggle. With that being said, I'm going to put Patrick as a low tier. Keep in mind, this doesn't mean that I think he's bad or anything, he's just lacking in a few areas. Jimmy Neutron is the second newcomer to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. He's a defensive zoner who has pretty good disjoints and solid range. He also appears to have a good grab range, which can give him a slight edge in some scenarios. The most vital part of his toolkit is of course his companion Gonard. Gonard can be fully controlled and do multiple different moves. However, you can only control one character at a time, so you have to be careful about that. Jimmy also has a lackluster recovery that can hurt him, especially when he's being edge-guarded. Jimmy Neutron is the type of character to have a high skill ceiling and will most likely be really good in the hands of anyone who puts the time in to master him. That being said, I'm going to put him near the top of mid-tier, although he can easily be put in high tier as well. Plankton is a weird combination of a zoner and a grappler. He thrives when he is up close with his opponent and when he is far away. However, he will probably have trouble if he's caught between either position. He has the furthest reaching grab in the game, and has sauce that can slow down opponents and affect their DI. With strengths such as these come some glaring weaknesses, the most noteworthy being his slow speed and big body from the mech, making him combo food. Plankton comes off as the type of character to have a strong advantage state, but a weak disadvantage state. Because of that, I'm going to put him in mid-tier below SpongeBob. Raphael is an extremely aggressive character. He's the fastest character in the game, and has really good frame data. He has shurikens which can help him out a lot when finding openings or extending combos. He also has multiple movement options to keep his opponents on their toes. The 2 main downsides I can think of is his lightweight causing him to die early, and having trouble if he is forced to play more defensively. I'm going to put him in high tier. While I think he has potential to be really good, his weaknesses prevent him from being top tier. Donatello has incredible range thanks to his bow staff, and he has some good recovery options like his dive kick and smoke grenade, which functions like Orcane's up special in Rivals of Aether. He also has Electro Balls, which he can do a lot of things with, and a counter to help him whenever he gets overwhelmed. For his weaknesses, he is kind of slow, and he might struggle if he's unable to give himself space. Also, if he doesn't have a smoke grenade, his recovery becomes a little worse. In a nutshell, or should I say turtle shell? No? Okay, I tried. He's a great character with a few weaknesses, so I think the best place to put him is at the top of high tier. April O'Neil maintains her overall playstyle she had in the first game. She's a fast character with a good combo game and an excellent recovery. Her ratings meter makes a return, and this time there's a better visual to tell how many ratings you have. She has gotten a few changes that expand on her playstyle a little more. Her camera move is still here, but now it can be moved around, giving it more versatility. She also has a flip kick now, which gives her an additional movement option. Some weaknesses could be her lightweight and her up special requiring you to touch the stage to reset its fuel. April was really good in the first game, and I'm rather confident that she will be good in the sequel too, so I'm putting her in high tier alongside her fellow TMNT reps. If you're familiar with the funny space animals in Melee or Project M, you'll feel right at home with El Tigre. He's very fast, he has a great combo game, his frame data is really good, and he has a shine. And that's not all. He has a hit grab with good range that's good for starting or continuing combos. He also has plenty of tools to mercilessly chase down his opponents. This is especially true when things like slime canceling are considered. El Tigre looks like he'll be a character with a strong advantage state and a brutal punish game. And despite a lack of projectiles or defensive tools, his disadvantage state might not be that bad as well. I may be a little bit biased because I plan on maining this guy, but I think El Tigre is very deserving of the spot as the first top tier on this list. Aang is one of the veterans from the first game who have gotten a lot of changes. Aside from having his moveset better integrate all 4 elements, Aang has 3 jumps and looks to be pretty floaty. He has strong attacks with solid range, and the additional jump makes his recovery and edge guarding better than it already was. He has a lot of tools to help out in plenty of scenarios, and his only real downside is his lightweight. Aang will probably be a popular character when the game comes out, and he'll be quite dangerous in the right hands. All things considered, Aang is looking to be a top tier in the making. Nigel Thornberry is another veteran that got a lot of changes. The most notable one being that he has 4 jumps and great air mobility. However, he's also now the lightest character in the game. His iconic flick is back, and it looks like it's still going to be pretty good. Nigel has plenty of tools in his moveset to help him either get in on his foes or run away when necessary. He looks to be a very flexible character with more than one way to play him. Unfortunately, his extremely lightweight will probably be a major setback in making him a top tier character. So I'm going to put him in high tier because he still looks like he'll be pretty good. As the Spotlight video puts it, Ren and Stimpy seem to have a focus on a defensive playstyle, relying on stage control with good air mobility and range on their moves. The log from Blammo returned from the first game, but it can now be angled to give it more versatility and mix-up options. Their up special can now be charged to give it more height, and their fart counter has a visual aid to let you know how much the fart is charged up. Also, they can attack on multiple sides, just like they could in the first game. With that being said, they still might not be as good of a character as some of the other ones. Their speed and overall damage output is average, and I feel like a defensive-focused playstyle might not fit well into the meta, but who knows, maybe it will. For now, I think I'm going to put Ren and Stimpy in the low tier. Garfield has one new thing that has people convinced that he's going to be really good. That being his new food meter and sugar rush, which greatly increases his overall movement speed. On top of that, he also has a shine, which sends his opponents at a different angle than El Tigre's shine. He has a good combo game and tools to help him excel in both offense and defense. However, his range is a little stubby, and he can struggle if he's unable to build up his food meter. Plus, having to unlock better movement speed is something that I think will prevent him from being a top tier character. But I still think he's going to be really good, which is why I'm putting him at the top of high tier. Danny Phantom has great movement in general, especially now that his up special flows better. He also has a new move that allows him to become intangible, and you can imagine how good that's going to be. He has a good combo game, strong attacks, and a quick projectile to help him create openings or keep people away. He's also pretty light, so if you're not careful, you could find yourself dying at early percents. Like the first game, Danny looks like he's going to have a lot of tech behind him for people to discover and make him all the more of a strong character. Taking everything into consideration, I think Danny Phantom will be a potential top tier. Putting aside the fact that this character traumatizes me for reasons, Ember looks like she's going to be a fun addition to the roster. She has a cheer mechanic that can power up her special moves when fully charged. She has good range and strong attacks with unique properties. She has a few projectiles that are good for keeping her foes at bay so she can space her moves out better and hit those tippers. Her down special also stuns opponents, which I'm sure won't be annoying at all. Ember appears to be a very versatile character overall, who has an answer for almost any scenario. Just like Danny, I feel like she could be a top tier character. The Angry Beavers have a lot of things to talk about. Not only can you tag out between the two beavers, but you can also call them the other beaver for assists and tag out mid-assist, putting you right where the other beaver is. Being able to tag out mid-assist can allow you to extend combos or quickly get back into a safe position. Each beaver has their own strengths and weaknesses. Daggett is fast and excels at juggling foes, while Norbert is slower but has more range and stronger attacks. Both beavers are able to make up for each other's weaknesses, practically negating the overall weaknesses of the 2-in-1 character. The beaver's assists offer some really good projectiles to help with stage control or closing the distance between you and your opponent. The Pyra and Mithra in Smash Ultimate taught me one thing, is that characters with a tag-out mechanic are bound to be really good. I'd go as far to say as the Angry Beavers could be the best character in the game. Some parts of Grandma Gertie's moveset might be familiar to some people. She's a fast character with good juggle tools and strong moves that pack a punch. She has an RNG down special that can do a lot of different things to aid Gertie in battle. The Spotlight video mentions that Gertie can be played offensively and defensively, but I think trying to play defensively could be a little bit more difficult. Having to rely on luck to give you something to keep your opponents away could be unreliable at times. Despite that, Grandma Gertie is still a very solid character that should not be taken lightly. When I was recording this, I put her at the lower end of high tier at first, but after thinking about it some more, I decided it would make a little more sense to put her in the higher end of mid tier. So if you see her position change, then that's why. Let's move on to the other Hey Arnold rep in the game, Gerald. Gerald is a mid-range zoner who is more than capable of boxing with his opponents. He has a very large array of projectiles and other tools to help him play keep away or get himself in. He has decent range on his moves, which can give him a slight edge against certain characters. His skateboard offers a good movement option to help him weave in or out of danger depending on the situation. All in all, Gerald is a very tricky character that can easily catch his opponents off guard if they are not paying attention. This is why I think he deserves a spot as a solid high tier. Lucy Loud is yet another example of a Nick All-Star Brawl 1 veteran that got a lot of changes to improve upon their original counterpart. For instance, you no longer have to bite your opponent to activate Vampire Mode or Ghost Mode. You can freely switch between both modes and Lucy's normal mode with Down Special, which is significantly more convenient. The bite is still here, but instead debuffs opponents while giving Lucy slight buffs in damage or speed. Jump Scare also returns from the first game, and is still a very useful tool for getting in, running away, extending combos, and securing KOs. The last one being especially true with the Vampire Mode version. The only downside is that Lucy is a lightweight, and she becomes even lighter in her Vampire and Ghost forms, so she has to be extra careful. Being able to manually switch between these forms makes it so you're able to have the right form at the right times. This change alone makes Lucy a much better character than in the first game, and she was already pretty good there. I'm going to put Lucy Loud at the very tippy top of high tier. The main thing keeping me from putting her in top tier is her lightweight, making her easy to KO.
Chomp!
Jenny doesn't have that many changes from the first game to the second, mainly because she was a DLC in the first game and was a lot more polished. People consider Jenny to be a really good character in the first game, and she maintains all the attributes that made her good. Great projectiles, great recovery, heavy weight, decent combo game, tether grab, the list goes on. She also has a few new things that are worth talking about, such as her new side special and being able to angle her jab. She mostly has a defensive playstyle, but she can play offensively just as well. Jenny was really good in the first game, and I have no doubt that she'll be good in the sequel too, so I'm going to put her up in high tier. Now let's go over the last newcomer to Nick All-Star Brawl 2, Azula. Azula looks to be an easy character to pick up and get the hang of pretty quickly. She has high speed, good frame data, decent range, good combo game, and tipper hitboxes. On the flip side, she has a very lackluster recovery and can get easily overwhelmed if you're not careful. However, once she finds an opening and gets in, she can bring the hurt. And it can be easy to find said openings with her fireball projectiles. Azula looks to be a solid character that requires smart play to get the most out of what she has. It's for this reason that I'm putting her in high tier. Reptar is pretty much exactly what you would expect him to be. A slow, heavyweight dinosaur with slow but strong attacks. He has a new flame meter that limits the amount of fire attacks he can do at once, which in my opinion may serve as a detriment to him. He has a new command grab, and he still has fireballs to help him get in or give himself some space. His flame breath move makes a return as well, but it is toned back significantly. Reptar can definitely be a threat in the right hands, but most of the time he's probably going to get mercilessly juggled due to his large size. So I'm going to say that he will most likely be a low tier character. Much like Jenny, Rocco did not go through too many changes from the first game to the second. However, he did get some small but very noteworthy changes. For instance, Spunky can now be turned around with the press of the special button, and he can also be picked up and thrown. Spunky can still interact with the jackhammer, and he can also be sucked in with Rocco's new Suck-O-Matic and spit out. Speaking of the jackhammer, it no longer damages Rocco himself, making it a much safer move for him to use. Going back to the Suck-O-Matic, it can be a really good recovery tool, or something to throw out to catch your opponents off guard. These minor changes add so much to what Rocco has to offer and can help him reach his fullest potential, which is why I'm putting him as a solid high tier. Also, surely they won't fix his light up air so it doesn't kill at surprisingly early percents, right? Right? Zim has been given a lot more versatility when it comes to projectiles and zoning tools, such as Pew Pew, Explosion, or however you say it, Mini Moose, Gnome, and others. Gur is still here, of course, but now he can be fully controlled alongside Zim. He has his own set of moves he can do, and he's perfect for getting out of tight situations or doing Zim's dirty work for him. That being said, he does have some glaring weaknesses. He's very light, his up special is practically useless without Gur, and he has limited options for when his opponents are able to get past his defenses. Zim has much more versatility than he did in the first game, but he may still struggle in some matchups, which is why I'm going to put him in mid-tier. As of the time I'm recording this, Korra does not have her Spotlight video out yet, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say she's probably going to have a similar concept to what she had in the first game. A slow, hard hitter with a few tools to help with movement. I do hope she gets the same treatment as Aang, where her moveset better integrates all 4 elements with a focus on her main element, which in this case is water. Also, I hope she has relatively good range, which is something that she lacked in the first game. If I had to make a guess on how good Korra will probably be, I'd say that she'll probably be mid-tier. And there you have it. There's my Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 prediction tier list. I can't wait to see how well everything I said in this video ages, and I especially can't wait for people to make fun of me if anything I say doesn't age well. Do you agree with my list, or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any uploads. Expect more videos on Nick All-Star Brawl 2 when the game releases. But until then, thanks for watching, be good to each other, and I'll see you next time. Bye!